episode 2 of the story, The Orphan. The night wind moved slowly through trees. Dark branches danced like shadows around the lonely path. Chinedum stood frozen. His bare feet were covered with dust and mud from the long road. The rusty bucket in his hand shook softly. For many minutes, he had walked along towards the forbidden stream. Every sound around him felt dangerous. Every moving leaf looked alive. And now, a strange voice was calling him from inside the forest. "My child." This time, the voice sounded closer. Chinedum's breathing became heavier. He slowly lifted the hurricane lantern higher. The weak light pushed against the darkness. Then suddenly he saw her. An old woman stood beneath a giant tree. Grey hair covered her head. A bundle of firewood rested beside her feet. Her clothes looked old and faded, but her face carried something peaceful. She looked directly at Chinedum, not with anger, not with wickedness, but with pity. The kind of pity that almost made him uncomfortable, because nobody had looked at him that way in years. The old woman smiled gently. "Do not be afraid." Chinedum stepped backwards immediately. Stories from the village rushed into his mind. Old spirits, forest wanderers, night voices. Children were warned never to answer strange calls at night, especially near the forbidden stream. The woman noticed his fear. "You are trembling," she said softly. Chinedum tightened his grip on the lantern. I have to go," he stammered. The woman looked at the empty bucket. At this hour, Chinedum lowered his eyes. "Yes." The old woman became silent. The wind blew softly between them. Finally, she asked, "Who sent a child to the forbidden stream in the middle of the night?" Chinedum remained quiet. The woman looked carefully at his torn clothes, his tired face, his thin body. Then she sighed deeply. "Oh, so the stories are true." Chinedum looked up quickly. "What stories?" The woman shook her head slowly. "Nothing." But her eyes already revealed she knew more than she wanted to say. Far away in the village, thunder rolled across the sky. Inside Uncle Ezeanyi's compound, warm food sat on the table. Enyinaya stretched comfortably after eating. Oriako laughed while chewing roasted meat. Mama Oriako sat proudly beside her husband. By now, she whispered quietly, the forest must have swallowed him. Uncle Ezeanyi looked around carefully before. "Lower your voice." But even at that, he could not hide the satisfaction on his face. For many years, Chinedum's late father's land remained untouched because the boy was still alive. As long as Chinedum remained alive, those properties could never fully belong to Uncle Ezeanyi, and that angered him deeply. Mama Oriako leaned closely. "If the boy does not return," she smiled slowly, "everything becomes ours." Enyinaya overheard them and grinned proudly. "Good," he said carelessly. "He eats too much anyway." Oriako burst into laughter. The entire family laughed together inside the warm house, while the orphan boy stood alone inside the cold forest. Back inside the forest, Chinedum slowly stepped away from the old woman. I must fetch water, he said nervously. The woman stared at him carefully. Do you even know the road to the forbidden stream? Chinedum shook his head. No. Then why did you come? My uncle's wife sent me. The old woman's eyes suddenly became emotional. Did you refuse? Chinedum nodded slowly. She pushed me outside. The woman closed her eyes briefly, as though fighting pain inside her heart. When she opened them again, her voice became softer. When last did you eat? The question surprised him. Chinedum looked down immediately. This evening. What did you eat? A little leftover yam. The old woman continued staring at him, and before that, Chinedum became silent. The woman already understood. The child was starving, not only for food, but for love, for care, for kindness, for belonging. The old woman stretched out her hand. Come with me. Chinedum became afraid again. Where? To my house. The boy's eyes widened immediately. No, I cannot. Why? If I don't return with water, they will punish me. The woman looked deep into his eyes. My child, those people have already punished you enough. Those words pierced his heart painfully. Suddenly, memories flooded in his mind. His uncle shouting at him, Mama Uriako insulting him, sleeping hungry, eating alone, walking while other children played, being mocked, being treated like he did not belong. For years, he endured everything quietly because he believed one day things would become better. But tonight, standing in that dark forest, he was no longer sure. The old woman spoke again gently. You are tired. Chinedum did not answer. You are afraid. Still, he remained silent. And your heart is carrying pain too heavy for a child. At those words, tears finally escaped his eyes. He quickly wiped them away in embarrassment. I am sorry, he whispered. The old woman moved closer slowly. No, do not apologize for pain. Rain began falling lightly from the sky. The forest became colder. The old woman lifted her firewood carefully. Come. This time, Chinedum followed her. They walked quietly through narrow forest path. The deeper they went, the stranger the forest became. Tall trees blocked the moonlight. Strange carvings appeared on some tree trunks. The air felt heavy. At that point, Chinedum heard movement inside nearby bushes. He nearly screamed. But the old woman calmly continued walking. Stay close to me, she said. And strangely, the fear inside him reduced. After some time, a small hut appeared ahead. Warm orange light glowed from inside. Smoke rose gently through the roof. The old woman opened the wooden door. Enter. Chinedum stepped inside carefully. And immediately, his stomach growled loudly. The smell of fresh soup filled the room. Hot yam, roasted fish, fresh vegetables. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming. The old woman smiled knowingly. You are hungry. Chinedum felt ashamed. I am fine. The woman chuckled softly. No hungry child says he is hungry. She uncovered a clay pot. Steam rose beautifully into the air. Then she served him a full plate of food. Not leftovers, not scraps. Fresh food, warm food, food prepared with care. Chinedum stared at it in disbelief. Eat! Won't somebody beat me? The old woman froze. That single question nearly broke her heart. Slowly, she sat down opposite him. No one here will hurt you. Chinedum slowly picked the food. At first, he ate carefully. Then faster. Then faster again. Like someone racing against hunger itself. The old woman watched quietly as tears gathered in her eyes. No child should ever eat like that. No child should fear food disappearing. When Chinedum finally finished, he lowered his head in embarrassment. I am sorry. For what? I ate too much. The old woman smiled warmly. No, my child. You only ate peace. That night, heavy rain poured outside the hut. Thunder shook the forest. But inside the little house, warmth filled the air. The old woman spread a soft mat near the fire. You will sleep here tonight. Chinedum immediately stood up. No, I should go home. The woman looked outside calmly. The forest is dangerous tonight. My uncle will be angry. The old woman sighed deeply. Sometimes people become angry because kindness exposes the darkness inside them. Chinedum did not fully understand her words, but somehow they comforted him. The woman covered him gently with a wrapper. Rest. Slowly, Chinedum lay down near the fire. His body relaxed, little by little. No insults, no shouting, no hunger. Only warmth, only silence, only peace. As his eyes slowly closed, he whispered softly, "Thank you, Mama." The old woman looked at him carefully. That word touched her deeply because for many years, nobody had called her Mama. Morning came quietly. Birds sang beautifully outside the hut. Sunlight entered through the window. For the first time in years, Chinedum woke up smiling. Then suddenly, he remembered where he was. He sat up quickly. Mama, the old woman turned from the fireplace. You are awake. I must go home. The woman shook her head gently. Not yet. Fear covered Chinedum's face again. They will punish me. The woman brought food and placed it before him. Eat first. Again, fresh food. Again, kindness. Again, care. Chinedum's eyes became wet. Nobody had ever cared whether he ate comfortably before. As he ate, the woman watched him carefully. What is your name? Chinedum. A powerful name. The boy looked curiously. It means God is leading me. The old woman smiled slowly. Yes, and he truly is. Days began pushing inside the forest hut. One day became 2. 2 became 4. 4 became 7. And slowly, the sadness inside Chinedum's heart began changing. The old woman taught him many things. how to plant vegetables, how to prepare herbs, how to speak with wisdom, how to remain humble even when life becomes unfair. Every evening, they sat inside the fire while she told him stories. Stories about kindness, stories about greed, stories about people who lost blessings because of pride. Sometimes Chinedum laughed deeply. Sometimes he became emotional. Sometimes he sat quietly listening to the rain outside. For the first time in many years, he felt loved. Meanwhile, back in the village, rumors spread everywhere. Chinedum has disappeared. The forbidden stream carried him away. Perhaps forest spirits took him. Villagers whispered fearfully under trees and inside markets. Some pitied the boy, others shook their heads sadly. But inside Uncle Ezeani's house, celebration secretly continued. Mama Oriaku cooked rich meals happily. Eninaya mocked Chinedum openly. Oriaku danced around proudly. Only Uncle Ezeani sometimes looked worried. What if the villagers suspect us? He asked one evening. Who can prove anything? Then she smiled proudly. Soon, all the properties will belong to us. But unknown to them, far away inside the forest, Destiny was quietly preparing something greater than greed. On the seventh night, the moon shone brightly over the forest. The old woman sat quietly outside the hut. Chinedum walked towards her slowly. Mama, yes, my child. When will I return home? The woman became silent for a long moment. Then she finally spoke. Tomorrow. Fear returned immediately to Chinedum's face. What if they are angry? The old woman looked directly into his eyes. Do not fear hearts that already chose darkness. Then she slowly stood up. Tomorrow morning, I will take you somewhere. Where? The woman faced the deep forest ahead to the forbidden stream. Immediately, cold fear entered Chinedum's body. Even the night breeze seemed to stop moving. The forbidden stream? He whispered. The old woman nodded slowly. Yes. Chinedum swallowed hard. Mama, what is it? What truly lives there? The old woman's face changed slowly. Then she whispered softly. Tomorrow, you will understand why the forest protected you. This is the end of episode 2. Why did old woman say the forest protected Chinedum? What secret was hidden inside the forbidden stream? And why did it seem as if the boy's destiny had been waiting for him all along? Tomorrow, everything would begin to change. You wouldn't want to miss the next episode. So subscribe to my channel so that as soon as the next episode drops, you will be notified. Thank you.